they teach you that failure is bad. Failure's great. I've never been scared of failure. I just remember hanging off a building 20 stories up with. I was loaded on vodka. I just couldn't take it anymore, and I couldn't see any way out. The amazing thing about having your ass kicked by life, you can either be bitter about it, or you can sort of go, you know, maybe I needed that. Most people understand buying low, but what I was amazed by was that people actually don't know when to sell. They don't know when to take their profits off the table.
From Acapulco, Mexico, this is Anarchast.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. As you know, I've said that about 450 times on all the past episodes. I got a great new guest coming in from Playa del Carmen, Mexico. I'm of course right here in Acapulco, or in Acapulco, Mexico as I call it, and it's becoming known as. It's Scott Sorensen. He's actually a part of a group called Cryptogasmic. He calls himself sort of a crypto and lifestyle advisor or educator, and he's got a great large group of crypto people. And he also has a lot of really interesting things about lifestyle, especially from the anarchist perspective of really living a free life. And we're going to get into that and how he sort of lives his life and what he's actually doing. Before we get into all that, Scott, I got to ask you, how did you become an anarchist?
Hey Jeff, thanks for having me on the show. Love what you do. You know, if I really think about it, I was probably an anarchist ever since I was a kid, and I just didn't know it. You know, I didn't get along with the teachers at school, didn't know what the hell I was doing there. Never agreed with anything I was told, and I just, something inside me. But I guess as an adult, to be honest with you, probably 5 or 6 years ago, I was living in Dubai for 12 years. So living a nice tax-free life over there, and you know, you just sort of be a good boy and go along your way and everything's cool. And after that, I moved to Los Angeles. And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing on the media. You know, Ebola was going to kill the world, Zika, Red Alert, and I just traveled through 3 countries on my way, and nobody was even talking about this stuff. And then I started watching, you know, the debates and the politics, and I would watch these debates and then watch the media and think, did you just watch the same thing I watched? And me, like everybody, you know, I always knew that the media was full of crap and that the government didn't really have the people's best interests at heart, but it really, really came home to me when I actually moved to the States, and what I was seeing on the TV. And because I traveled a lot with my business, when I would fly in and I'd see the CNN everywhere on the thing, and I was just like, wow, this is so brainwashing, and people don't even know it. And then talking to people, so that was kind of, believe it or not, moving to the USA, which lasted 1 year before I got out of there. But that was basically what really sunk at home. But I've always been an anarchist in my heart, but didn't really know whether to. It's weird because I actually thought of myself as a Democrat, but my understanding of what a Democrat was completely different to what it actually really is. You know, because I'm quite anti-guns and anti-women to do whatever they want and all that. And I thought, yeah, I'm a Democrat, and I hated George Bush. But then when I got to America and I saw everything, it was like, no, I don't like any of it. And it was at that point I realized that, yeah, I'm an anarchist or a libertarian, or, you know, and that's basically it, moving to America.
Yeah, actually seeing the U.S. will turn a lot of people into anarchists, or at least wake them up to what's going on. A lot of people out there don't know. If you're watching here in the U.S. and you've never left the U.S., you really don't know what a crazy place you live in. It's I actually went and lived there myself for 1 year exactly, same as you. In about 2002, I lived in Hollywood, actually. I was hanging out with people like Paris Hilton before anyone knew who she was, and Tara Reid, and it was all weird. And I was like, man, this is like so weird here. And like you said, with all the media propaganda, you just don't see that when you're outside. Like, you're there in Mexico, I'm here on the other side of Mexico, on the west side, and we don't hear about this stuff. I have to actually turn on my computer and see that everyone's freaking out about something this week, and I'm like, what is it? And they're like, Zika, or bird flu,
it's
or
crazy.
It's like, what? No one, where'd you hear this? And they're like, CNN. It's like, turn it off, because it's not real, and it's totally not real.
It's really crazy, Jeff, you know? It's really crazy, and you're right, sorry, but you don't. It was just living there that really did it, and walking my dog and talking to people. And when I told them I was going to move to Mexico, they would say things to me like, but aren't you scared of getting your head cut off down there? And I'm like, are you serious? And then you start understanding that, you know, what I've learned is they want, the American government, and governments all over the world for that fact, want three things. They want you to be scared, they want you to be fearful, and I learned this in 1 year living in America. They want you in debt, they want you scared, and they want you to go to work for as little as you can. And they want you in debt, and they want you sick. Sorry, that's the third thing. They love you to be sick, they love you to be in fear, and they want you to be in debt. That's my perception anyway.
Yeah, it's absolutely the case. The U.S. government's probably one of the worst in the world. I don't know of any that's really much worse at all of those things. Definitely the sick part, for whatever reason, they are completely just annihilating the people there with, you know, you just look at the food, what they do with the food. It's almost all processed, and they really promote it. And then you go to the doctor, and the doctor won't say, hey, you know, you're like, hey, I don't feel very good. And the doctor won't go, well, what are you eating? He'll never ask you that. But if they did ask, the person would probably say, well, like McDonald's and chips and hot dogs. It's like, well, that's not food. That's why you don't feel very good. But no, they'll be like, oh, well, we got some pills, and it'll actually make that pain go away, but it won't actually fix the problem. It'll actually make it much worse, and it goes on, and we know all about that. But it is really interesting, and a lot of people still haven't realized it, just what a crazy place the U.S. is. And it's so funny. As you pointed out, I still get it all the time. I'll mention to someone when I'm in the U.S., they'll go, where do you live? I'll be like, Mexico. They'll be like, oh my gosh. It's like, I say the same thing about you, really. Like, it's way worse up here. In fact, in many ways, Mexico is just amazing. It's just, you know, I don't know about your lifestyle. Maybe we can get into your lifestyle a little bit, but my lifestyle is just like perfect. It's like no problems. There's no one's stressed out. No one's talking about North Korea or Syria or terrorism or anything. They're just living their lives and quite happy, and very healthy kind of food. Not necessarily the tacos and stuff like that, but like in general, it's mostly not processed food, although that is changing. That's why Mexico has become sort of the second fattest place in the world. They've really pushed the sodas, the Coca-Cola, and all that sort of stuff down here, and people have unfortunately fallen for that. But give us a little bit of your sort of background, because I know you got such an interesting background, how you ended up in a place like Mexico. You were living in Dubai, and you made a lot of money, you lost a lot of money. These kind of stories a lot of people really like, and it's quite similar to my own story. So give us the whole background of how you got here.
Sure. Well, I'll try and, you know, it's been people say to me, have you had a big day? I say I've had a big life, and I'm very grateful for the life that I've had, and it's just weird. If you would have asked me 2 years ago, you know, do you think you'd be living in Mexico from 2 years from now? It wasn't even in my mind to be living, well, I've been here 3 years ago. It was never even in my mind to live in Mexico, and here I am, and that's the thing I love about life, and that's what I like to talk to people about. But basically, I was in the music business ever since I left school. I was a singer-songwriter, and even from that age, I never sat around waiting for record companies. I was the one, you know, sending a million faxes with to the radio stations, and I was signed up with Sony, who wouldn't do anything. So I organised my own songwriting trip as a 19-year-old kid to Sweden, because I loved all the European pop bands like Roxette and a lot of the big songwriters. So I rocked up to the office in Sony and went, these are the people I'm writing with. And this was before the internet. And they were just like, wow, how did you? So I've always had that thing about, and one thing I hate about school is they teach you that failure is bad. Failure is great, and I've never been scared of failure, and it's the one bit of advice I give everybody. So I went off traveling around the world, never became the rock star that I wanted to be, ended up in Dubai, and just, you know, in a bar playing Hotel California for $80 a night. This was back when Dubai was just being built, and there were cranes everywhere, and there wasn't so much development, but it was on the way. And I started booking bands. I set up an entertainment company, working late at night, and then on the side, during the day, I was looking for bands to book in these hotels. And you know, I didn't even have a laptop at that time, and I went from making $80 a night to having a company that turned over $3 million a year in the first 2 years with a staff of 3. And it was incredible. And unfortunately, as the time went on, I love living in the UAE, but it's very materialistic. Greed is everything. And you get really caught up in it. So I became, if I look back on it now, you know, I probably didn't become a very nice person. I became greedy. I wanted more. I became massively overweight. Talking about the fast food problem, geez, go over there. It's so Americanized now. That's another story. And I basically, yeah, for 4 or 5 years, life was amazing. I had a BMW, a Jaguar, million-dollar apartment, I was buying properties, but I wanted more, so we decided to open restaurants and banks. I remember sitting in my office and having 21 credit cards that I didn't even order, and just laughing with my business partner at the time, going, this is just insane. And the banks would ring you every day going, do you want 2 million, 3 million? So we said, all right, let's open some restaurants. And it was just the biggest mistake that we ever made. I started an entertainment company with a capital of 0, not even a laptop, that turned over $3 million. And then we went and borrowed a bunch of money from the banks to set up these restaurants. Didn't make a cent. So, and it got so bad. I mean, in the Middle East, in the UAE in particular, it's one of the only 2 or 3 places in the world where writing a bad check is a criminal offense. You go to jail with murderers, rapists. You're in the same thing. There's over 3,000 people, expats sitting in Dubai prisons for not paying a credit card or anything like that. So I was kind of faced, and it was a horrible 1 or 2 years where with the pressure that they put on you. It's not like in America or anywhere in the world where you have some bad credit for 7 years and stuff like that. They make you sign a security check before you take the loan, whether it's a $100 credit card or a $1 million bank loan. They make you sign a blank check. So they don't get you for not paying back the loan. They take the check to the police and you get done for bouncing a check. And then you're left in jail until somebody pays for it, right? It got so bad. I mean, I would wake up and have 65 SMSs from the banks. Where's the money? Where's the money? The banks would ring and they would say things like, Mr. Scott, you've been in Thailand for the last week, I see on your credit card. Yeah, how was it? Yeah, it was good fun. I hope it was fun because your next trip will be in the jail if you don't pay back. And this was constant, mate, constant. They would turn up to where I was having lunch and the pressure got so much that I just remember hanging off a building 20 stories up I was loaded on vodka. I just couldn't take it anymore and I couldn't see any way out. And I just remember looking down thinking, that's it. I've gone from I used to go to the ATM machine just for fun to see what the balance was, and to sitting there. I remember sitting there. I couldn't even buy an apple. I just had no money. Not even my coin jar was empty. Everything was gone. Everything, and it really leaves you with a feeling of it's even beyond desperation. It's helplessness. Everything's blurry, Jeff. And you just don't see any end to it, especially once a year. And the pressure that they put on you is unbelievable. So I was left with 3 options really. Because we couldn't pay back the bank loans. The businesses went down the drain. So it was go to jail, pay back the loan, or leave and start again. So I left and started again. I moved to Los Angeles. I was going to get back in. I had a middle-age crisis. I was going to get back into the music business. Went to LA, and I just thought, screw this, man. What am I doing? So I set up my entertainment company again from scratch. And the amazing thing about having your ass kicked by life, you can either be bitter about it, or you can sort of go, maybe I needed that. I did things. I had so much money. It was just like I remember I always wanted to open my own bar in Barbados in the Caribbean for some reason because as a Aussie I love cricket and West Indies was my favourite team. Not really a good business deal to open up a restaurant, but I had so much money I didn't care. I moved to Barbados. That was broke within 6 months, and stuff like that. So. Basically, after it all went tits up, I moved back. I went to LA to lick my wounds and start again. And I kind of sat there and just went, well, the only thing I know how to do is book bands. And so I decided to put everything online. But I took a new philosophy into my business, and that was, instead of it all being about me making as much money as I can, I've been doing this for 15 years of my life. I've got an opportunity to help young artists. I can put them in hotels, cruise ships. So I took that philosophy and I read a lot of books from entrepreneurs and they all kind of say the same thing, Jeff, and I'm sure you understand this. They all fail 2 or 3 times before they kind of make it. They all say you got to give before you can receive. And by giving, that doesn't just mean giving the homeless guy a hot dog out front of the 7-Eleven and bragging about it all over Facebook. So I really did a lot of soul searching into the vision statement of what I was going to do and started donating money to charities and stuff for every contract that I did. And I basically rebuilt the company with a tarnished reputation, and I rebuilt it. And, here we are 5 years later. We're booking over 100 hotels around the world. I've got a cryptocurrency education platform. Life is great, and I thank all of it to what happened to me back then, because life kicked my ass and I probably needed it. So I was in America, didn't really like it there for all the things that we said. Came down to Mexico for a holiday. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this remotely and online, and it's been amazing. I got an office for $300 a month. I got amazing staff, which don't cost a lot of money, but we treat them really well. And I play golf, and I try to balance my life with charity work, professional work. And it's just amazing living down here. You know, the biggest problem we have in life is hitting a golf ball into the trees, or you know, the people in the shop, you ask them what something is and they straight away just go, don't know. But that's it. You know, like you said, there's no talk of politics. There's no, I don't even know what's going on with the news in the world unless I look at Facebook. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch Fox. And the thing that amazes me is I don't really blame people in the Western countries, because you've just become familiar with what you see and what is thrown at you. You know, so what other reason would they have not to believe what they're being told? So, you know, part of my job now, as it is yours, is to get that message out, but as well as get the message out, find solutions for those problems, which is what I think we're doing with the blockchain and cryptocurrency. And that's it. And through all of my failures, I've learnt to a couple of things. Basically, I will never really invest a lot of money to start up a business again. Like I said, I started one business with nothing, made millions. I started another one with millions, never received 1 cent. So even my Cryptogasmic business cost me $5,000. You know, I use local guys to do the website and do my video editing and you know, spread the wealth rather than be that greedy guy I was in Dubai. As a business owner, it's your responsibility to give jobs and help people, and I just feel that if everybody in the world, well, not everybody can do it, but if more and more people had incentive to start their own businesses, even if you're hiring 3 people, Jeff, you know, I think the world economically would be a lot better place. And that's sort of, so yeah, here I am now in Mexico. I'm going to start living part of my life over in the Grand Cayman Island. I love it over there. But as far as living in Western countries, no, not for me. I'm done, and I'm happy here. And in this global world that we live in, I've got 3 offshore businesses in different countries. I've got an offshore company in Dubai. I've got an offshore company in Grand Cayman. I've got one in Barbados. And I guess the lesson, and I've got bank accounts in Mexico. I've got a bank account in America. I've got a bank account in Australia. So I guess my advice would be find a passion, chase it, turn an online business out of it, but don't rely on one jurisdiction. Don't be ruled by anybody. I haven't hardly paid any tax for 20 years, and I'm not going to pay any for the next 20 years. I think I paid 2% in Barbados on declared earnings. So, you know, and I want to start teaching people how to live that kind of life if they want to live it.
That's great. You had a lot of great information and advice in that. One of them being that there's that saying, what's the best way to make $1 million? It's start with $10 million. There's a lot of people, when you kind of make that money fairly easily at first, then you kind of, this happened to me as well. I made a decent amount of money initially after a ton of hard work, and then I thought it was all easy and went into areas that I didn't know much about. Maybe like you with restaurants in Dubai, I went into a real estate project in Chile, got my ass handed to me. It's still in the courts. We're actually still going to get the land back, but it's been just an absolute nightmare. And I was exactly the same place as you a couple of years ago. There was no 20-story buildings around here, but I was very much thinking about putting that gun in my mouth. And there's a little bit of advice for you out there too, for anyone who's going through some tough times right now. You can get through them, and in fact, you will have such a better life if you can get through them, because that'll be the biggest learning experience of your life, and you can take Scott and my experience as some proof of that, because we've both gone on. I'm much happier now. I learned many of the same things as you. I learned to, I wasn't so much greedy. I've never really been materialistic or anything, but I didn't think too much about like directly helping other people, and now I've started to realize that that's a big part of having a good life, and I'm doing some things. I haven't told anyone about this yet, but I'm doing some things on that right now, and you know, in many ways, just having a successful business that does well and provides customers with what they want, that helps people as well. A lot of people get that wrong. They look at capitalism all wrong, and they go, well, all you're doing is making some money, and you have like 20 employees, but how much are you giving to charity? It's like, well, in fact, you're helping the world a lot. You have 20 people that you're helping them get what they need. You're helping your customers get what they need. So people look at a lot of these things kind of incorrectly, but definitely a lot of good advice there, and a lot of good life experience you've had. And one thing that I think that's how I know you is you've really gotten into the cryptos over the last few years. So how did you come into the crypto world after all this?
So, playing golf, really, which is where I've met some of the most interesting people, and it's one of the reasons I play golf. And just to finish up on your capitalism thing, you know, and people going on about the money, it's totally okay to make money, but there's good money and there's bad money. And I believe that if you got a good intention in what you do, and I try to tell people in my cryptocurrency group this, that don't make it all about going to the moon and Lamborghinis, right? But, you know, there's an old saying, Jeff, that they say that the teacher will arrive when the student awakens, right? And you can only tell people so much. And one day it sort of just comes to you, and you realize that our purpose on this planet is to help people, and there's nothing wrong with making money and helping people at the same time. You know, there's good money, there's bad money. I kind of regret getting into the restaurant business, because when I started getting really deep into it, I was like, and this might sound a bit absurd, but this is where my mind was after I had my ass handed to me. You know, I'm making money through animals who are being killed, you know, and I kind of got that deep into good and bad money. So, yeah, it's totally okay to make money, but just don't make it be smart with your business, but just think about the intention behind it, and what you can actually do to, what purpose are you bringing to that business. And that's it. So cryptocurrency for me, well, basically, you know, I was like a lot of people. I was like, I had heard about it, and you know, then a couple of years ago when I first moved down here, 3 years ago, I was playing golf with a guy, and he was like, hey, shit, look at my Blockfolio, and he was a big hotel guy, and he had all these New York investor guys. He was like, yeah, I got 10 grand. He put it on his Blockfolio, and he's like, now it's worth 35. And I remember thinking, shit, that's pretty cool. And I had worked my way from being completely bankrupt to having, you know, a couple of $100 grand in the bank, which was a really big feat for me after having absolutely nothing, you know. And I kind of thought to myself, I'm not going to make the same mistake again, but what can I do with some of this money? And then a couple of weeks later, I was playing golf with a guy who owned a bar down here for a long time. And he was more excited. He's like, from Oklahoma. He's, shit, man, have you seen this? And he really he started explaining to me blockchain, whereas the first guy was just, I put in this and look how much it's worth now. I was like, whatever. But the second guy, his name was JJ, good guy, explained to me, you know, started explaining blockchain. And I remember at the time going, oh yeah, whatever, mate. And then I went home and I started researching exactly what it was, and I was like, yeah, shit, I like this, right? Because I really started despising governments and banks, because I travel a lot, you know. You realize when you start traveling that the minute you put your money into a bank, it's not your money. When you try to get it out and you've got $500 a day limit, you just go to the shopping market and Chase Bank. Your bank card doesn't work, and you ring them and they go, yeah, for your security, we have, and you know, it's just bullshit, right? And charging me $60 every time I want to send a transaction. So I started investigating all of this, and I was like, yeah, this is the shit. I love this. And I kind of thought to myself, how much can I take out the bank? How much? It's just sitting there in the bank doing nothing. I had mates trying to, you know, ask me to get involved in different businesses, and I didn't want to part with 100 grand or 200 grand or 300 grand. I just didn't want to do it, to start up a business again. So this came along, and I thought, I can afford $20,000. Let me take that out of the bank, buy a bunch of cryptos with it, and see how it goes. So I did that, and within 2 or 3 months, that 20 grand was 60 or 70 grand. Then I had $20,000 fizzed out of my account and hacked all in one day, and it kicked my ass. And you know, I invested in some ICOs. All of my tokens were stolen, but it was my own fault. So I was really pissed off for about 3 days, and then I thought, you know what? I will use this to teach other people more security. I'm still got more money than what I started with. I believe in all of this, so I just started that way, you know, and it was really funny. I started by paying these signal services, you know, and I thought it was an easy answer to make money. And I would shove over my half a Bitcoin and join, and they'd send out these signals, and all of a sudden my 15 Bitcoin, because I don't know what they were like $700 back then or something, right? You know, was now my 15 or 20 Bitcoin is now 10 Bitcoin, and I'm bleeding it away by listening to these guys. And I'm in these groups, so I've got ADD as well, so I was like, screw this, I need to work out why it is that I'm losing this money, and all these other people are making the money. So I took 6 months out, I left it just sit there, and I just learned technical analysis, and I learned about the market, and I started studying all the fundamentals behind crypto and really educated myself on it. And then I was in some other groups, and every group I was in was talking about Lamborghinis and this, and I would talk more about, you know, how great it would be to have a charity token instead of the Red Cross, who to me are just as thieving as what the banks are. And, you know, so I'm thinking about all these ways we could do it. And then these guys just ended up kicking me out of the group. And I was a joke of the group. So I thought, screw you, I'm going to start my own group. And I think I had 5 people that followed me across. And I was a joke in the group, and they were doing memes of me. I didn't care. And then that group turned into 100, 150, 300. So I started offering private lessons for people to learn technical analysis, because I kept seeing the same problems over and over. People were entering the thrill part of the market. The age-old story of investing, Jeff, you know, is most people will enter when they're supposed to sell, and they'll sell it when they're supposed to enter. Buy the fear and sell the greed, right? And in crypto, because it is such an emotional market, you're not really dealing with brokers or you know, people aren't leveraging on futures and stuff like that. It's straight buy and sell, and people, it's all on emotional cycles. So for me, technical analysis really, really worked, and I became really, really good at it, and it just worked for me. I knew how to look at a chart, and it just was like reading Chinese. And then learning the language was like a second language. So I started offering my services, charging these people. You know, how much would people pay? 200, 300 bucks an hour. And then I found myself being up at 4 o'clock in the morning doing the same lessons over and over and over. And then there were people who couldn't afford the 300 bucks, so I was doing group lessons where people paid 40 bucks, and I had 20 people in the group. So all of a sudden I'm like, see, here's another business opportunity. I'm making $1,000 a day, $2,000 a day doing this, and I'm helping people at the same time. So I then decided to set up a platform, but I just didn't want to be a signals group who said buy here and sell here. I really wanted to teach people for themselves how to invest their money, you know, how to do it for themselves. So even if I send out a signal with, I think this is a good trade right now, that they look at it and they understand it. And I do a bunch of shows called the TA show, the Technical Analysis Show, on some Facebook groups now. And the number thing I really learned out of talking to people, but funnily enough, and I don't know if you've experienced this, Jeff, but I always thought the biggest problem for people was not knowing when to buy. Most people understand buying low, but what I was amazed by was that people actually don't know when to sell. They don't know when to take their profits off the table. So I try to take a real beginner approach, and what I was getting from beginners as well was they were embarrassed in a lot of these groups because people would call them newbies or go and do your own research, and I'm like, again, it's back to my thing of starve the beast. The only way crypto and blockchain is going to work is if everybody's involved. You know, from the smallest villages in Africa to micro payments in the Philippines to, because I've dealt with a lot of, you know, Filipinos were my staff, Nepalese, Pakistanis. And for them to pay a $5 charge to send their pay back home to their families is expensive. So I started seeing, you know, and so I just loved everything about it. And I wanted to teach people how they can get some financial freedom, whether it's some extra money, whether it's some money to help with the mortgage, whether it's a bit of extra spending money to take the missus out, or do it full time, or whatever, that's up to you. But it's really important to learn some technical analysis, I believe, to understand where there's some support, where you are in the cycle, are you at the thrill, are you at the fear stage? Because at the end of the day, as much as I love the fundamentals of crypto, nobody's really doing anything yet in the real world. You know, my golf club, I can't go and have a round of golf with Bitcoins yet. I can't buy my margaritas for a Bitcoin. So for me, it's a vehicle to stack the money to live my lifestyle, but at the same time preaching the word. But I want to see more blockchain companies. I travel to a lot of these events like you do, Jeff, and I hear the same things over and over, and everybody shilling how they're going to change the world. It's kind of like that show Silicon Valley regarding .com. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's great. So that's what I'm trying to do with crypto. And again, it's about, really, the bottom line is I want to change the world with crypto, and I want to do my little piece. And if everybody does their little piece, then we can actually starve the beast and make them irrelevant.
Yeah, that'd be great. Looking forward to that happening. Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing as well. And you mentioned earlier sort of intention when you do a business, and so your intention was was to help as many people as possible to understand and learn about crypto so they don't lose everything, and by doing that, you're hoping that more and more crypto gets accepted across the world, and then we can eventually get rid of central banks and governments. That's generally what I've been doing as well, and it is quite true about intention when you're starting an operation, to be really clear about it and to make sure that it is truly to help some people in one way or another, whether it's selling them hamburgers, because they're hungry, that's fine, but you have an intention that you want to, in some way or another, help people. And when you do have those intentions, things tend to go well. And I know that your Cryptogasmic group, I haven't really checked it out fully because I'm so busy, but it looks like it's really, really grown quite big. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's we've got quite a few thousand members in there now, and what I'm really, really determined to do with that group is, the thing that makes me really happy is when I wake up in the morning, and they call me Krypto for some reason, I don't know why, but they'll message me and say, hey, Krypto, I just want to say thank you. You've opened up my eyes, and I hope I can live a lifestyle like that. And I openly talk about all the mistakes that I've made, and if I do a bad trade, I'm a member of all of these groups on Telegram, and they're all, our members made 900%, sign up here. There's no name, there's no face. Now, this might backfire on me and turn around and bite me on the ass, but I decided there's going to be a face. Might not be the prettiest face, but there's a face to it. There's a name, there's an email. And what you said about depression as well, I've set up a social chat with it, because I want to have a place where I'm building community as well at the same time, right? So it's a group on the side where people, and it's amazing when people come in, and it's sometimes easy to talk with strangers, and they talk about how they just lost their job, their wife left them, they're feeling really depressed. And it really, really brings a tear to my eye sometimes when I see some of the other guys in the group rally behind these complete strangers. Don't worry, mate, it'll be okay. And, somebody will say, there was one guy, his wife left him, right, because he bought Litecoin at $250, didn't tell his wife, and it went to $300, made a bunch of money. He then told his wife, and then they started designing the kitchen. Then it fell back to $100, and she left him. Right,
wow.
And he was really upset. Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, I think there's
funny,
some problems in that marriage to begin with. If that's all that happened, I didn't get my kitchen, I'm out of here. It's like, okay, I think you should get a better wife anyway. I'm sure there's more
problems than that. But on a serious note, some people talk about the struggles in their lives, and it really opens up my heart to, and I feel good when I sit back. And I get the occasional stupid. I wake up to messages saying, "Hey, Krypto, when does BTC going to move?" I'm like, I don't know, man. But 99% of the community, and that's one of the things I love about crypto, is we've all kind of got the same. We might debate some points, but we've all got the same. We despise, the governments and the banks and all that sort of stuff. I used to use the word corporate world, but I don't despise them as much as the banks and the governments. But I really want to build community out of this, and I'm very approachable by all the people in our group. And I just want to, everybody comes in with the same thing, They usually come in because they bought Bitcoin in December because their mates down the bar said it was going to the moon, and then it died on its ass, and, they need some help. So, and more than anything, what they need is just some reassurance and some guidance. And I never promise anything with my trade. Sometimes I just bought Ethereum again at $730 after cashing out at $685, and it dropped straight back down. But, so I try to teach them patience. And it's really funny in this millennial world, man. Like, I know you've been into gold and silver and commodities and stuff. And, the great thing I love about crypto is, we made 650% in 3 coins last month. EOS, Ethereum, and just Bitcoin, right? So if you can't be patient and learn to wait on the down cycle for the possibility to make 600% gains, you've got to be patient. And it's one of the other biggest things that I learned is people have got no patience. They'll buy something. And I guess the other mistake people make is buying too many altcoins. I'm a big believer in a 90-10 rule. 90% should be in the top coins: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. I'm a big fan of Dash. And 10% on your alt trading with trying to stack your Bitcoin. And then, trying to teach people to store it in value where the best value. Unfortunately, sometimes the best value is in fiat currency for now, when Bitcoin's dropping and the alts. So you've got to sort of understand where to keep it. I advise people to take money out when you can and go and buy some property, or go buy a block of silver, or diversify. So, and I'm still learning myself as well. And, After having my ass kicked, one thing I learned was to be humble, and I don't know everything, and I'm always learning from the people in the group as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I see all the same things at the Dollar Vigilante. I've been doing this for 8 years now, but we've only been in cryptos for about 6 or 7 years. But I've definitely seen this over and over and over. So many people sign up for the newsletter. They're like, "Well, when's the next pick?" It's like, relax. When I find it, I'll let you know. Like you don't rush these things. But so many people are like that, and unfortunately, you can just tell by how they're acting that they're going to lose most of their money because they don't have enough patience. I think I'm not a big fan of Warren Buffett whatsoever, but I think he had a great quote about the great thing about investing is you can just sit there, and it's like baseball, and just sit there and you can get like 1,000 pitches. There's no 3 strikes, you're out. You can wait for the perfect pitch, and that really is the case with investing. And I think a lot of these crypto kids and a lot of the people that are just so heard about it, this guy's rich because of it, that guy's rich, I want to be rich. They're coming at it from the wrong perspective, and as you pointed out earlier, they won't really listen to us until they lose everything, and then even then they probably won't even listen to us. In fact, they'll probably be on trolling me on the internet forever if they lost some money in this month, and it's like I told you, just be patient and that sort of thing. But it is really interesting. It's great to see such a totally new market come out of nowhere that has all these people that are so interested in really getting rid of the governments, central banks, and the banking system as a whole, the whole financial system, all doing quite well in general, and having these opportunities. It's really just been just amazing, and I'm so excited about it even today, and I don't know where it's going to go over the next few years. To me, it really surprised me how quickly it caught on. I was not expecting us to be at like nearly $1 trillion market cap there a few months ago for all the cryptos that quickly. I thought that might be like 2019, 2020. So, it's really catching on, which is great, but people also need to be careful, and that's why it's good to be part of groups like yours and the Dollar Vigilante as well. We're not out there doing these sort of things like buy this coin, you're going to get rich or anything like that, although many people have gotten rich off of many of the coins that we've suggested.
Jeff, I guess the other bit of advice, just on Warren Buffett, I'm not a fan either, but he had another really good saying. He said, trading is just the impatient passing their money on to the patient. And it really is true. So decide whether you want to be in the 90% who lose. And if you want to, just do the same as them. When they're all talking about it on the news, usually a good time to sell. When they're all talking about how crap it is, usually a good time to buy. But patience really is the key. And getting an early seat at the table, I was screaming at my group to buy EOS under $5 a couple of weeks ago. Nobody listened. The day it hit 17, they're all, I'm going to wait for the dip to 15 and I'm going to buy it. I'm like, guys, and I hear it over and over with Litecoin and I was screaming at the group to buy Litecoin at $40. When it hit 140, they all wanted to buy the dip. I hate that term, buy the dip. But and my personal opinion on crypto is people do need to be careful, and my philosophy is this. I think it is going to be built up really, really big. The .com, I don't know if the numbers are right, but like $10 trillion, I think, when it went bust. So if the elitists of the world are involved in crypto, which I believe they are, I'm not convinced on the Satoshi model of evolution, but, I don't know. But I do believe they're going to build it up really big, because if they wanted it gone, if it was a real danger, it'd be gone. You can't tell me a couple of governments around the world can't throw a couple of trillion at it and just bury it, right? So they also want it there. But I believe that the day somebody wants to pay me $60,000 for my Bitcoins, they can have it. Because I do believe, is it a bubble? 100%. 100%. It'll fly. I think there'll be a time when banks are allowing you to mortgage your house so you can buy a Bitcoin at the prospect of doubling it. I really do believe that will probably happen. And the sad part about it is I think a lot of people are going to get burned, and then I believe the legs will get broken, and then the government will probably try to come to the rescue and let's regulate this for the good of the people and all that bullshit. So for me now, it's about getting the seat early at the table. And I hear from so many people talking about, I missed the boat. You haven't missed the boat, right? But just kind of understand where you are in a cycle and understand that the prices move in an ebb and a flow, and they do go up. It can go up 40% in a day and then down 40% the next day. Just believe in it and get in early at the table. That's my opinion.
And as you pointed out earlier, diversify as well, especially if you've done really well. That's a big thing. I see a lot of people make a lot, and I'm like, why don't you take some of these are just personal friends of mine. I'm like, why don't you take some of it and buy some gold or silver? They're so low right now. Like, what a perfect trade. And I actually came out with that trade in December of this year. It was like the day after Bitcoin hit its all-time high, and I came out with a video that said, it's time to take some profits off Bitcoin and buy gold and silver. And I got, just like you said, everyone, there was not one nice comment on the whole YouTube video. They're like, you're an idiot, Bitcoin's going to go up forever, gold's never going to go up. It's like, oh man, like, that's just, the fact of life. That's why the markets are what they are, is because most people just have no idea what they're doing, and it's unfortunate, but I guess, that's one good way to learn, is to get your ass handed to you in the markets as well, right? So who are we to say it's a bad thing?
This is why it's easy to make money in the market as well, I mean, being a poker player, if you can't pick the fish at the table, it's you,
Yep.
And that's it. So you just try to learn what you're doing wrong, and because there are a lot of possibilities, whether you're a long-term holder or you want to trade a little bit, just get educated. And what amazes me is people throw money into this without even really understanding the game that they're playing. Einstein had a great saying that was, if you want to play the game, learn the rules and then become the best at the game. Spend a bit of time to understand and learn, and I've got no doubt this thing's going to take off.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you did when you first got into crypto. You spent 6 months looking into it deeply, doing your own research. That's really what you should be doing if you're going to be investing seriously in these sort of markets. That's any markets like that. You should know the market inside and out before you put any sort of serious amount of your own money into these sort of things, unless you just want to gamble. And if you want to gamble, that's fine. But you should be aware that, if you don't know what you're doing, you're probably not going to do well, unless you're part of your group, perhaps, or part of the Dollar Vigilante. You can subscribe to our newsletter at dollarvigilante.com/subscribe. And why don't you let people know where they can get access to your group?
You can find us on Cryptogasmic.com. We have a really good Telegram chat community. If you're on Telegram, you can put in Cryptogasmic. You should find it. We're all over Facebook, Cryptogasmic. Track us down, send me a message. I'll add you into the groups. You can subscribe and become a member for free at Cryptogasmic.com. We have crypto news, we have the tickers, we do some free lessons, webinars. I do a show daily called the Technical Analysis Show, the TA show with crypto. I do that on a Facebook group called Cryptocurrency Investing Facebook, which we're going to have you as a guest on very shortly. Jeff, we've got about 150,000 members on that, all crypto lovers. And that's it. So just Cryptogasmic and you'll find us.
That's great. We'll put the links to that all down below. And I should take this time to point out, I'm not on Telegram. I have no public groups on Telegram. I'm not on any of these sort of WhatsApp groups or Signal, or if I message you on Facebook saying I've got a really hot Bitcoin mining deal and you have to send me Bitcoin today, it's not me. There's so many people out there. And it's, again, sad. It's sad to hear that people think that I'm actually going to message them on Facebook wanting some Bitcoin from them. I've never talked to them before, and they will actually do it. It's that whole greed thing that, unfortunately, and again, I guess that's how people are going to learn. Whoever, because I hear about this every now and then, someone will say, I just sent 5 Bitcoin to you. I'm like, why? And they're like, didn't you just message me on Facebook? I'm like, no, and I don't hear from them again. I'm like, I hope they didn't kill themselves or something. But it's like, I guess they're going to have to learn. Like, you be smarter, Like, I'm not out there messaging people to do these things. I'm not on Telegram, as I pointed out. So, if you see any of these out there, there's not much I can do about them, unfortunately. There's just really no way to stop a lot of these things. So just be smart. That's, I guess, really comes down to be smart, learn, pay attention, be careful, and as you pointed out, failure is not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a learning experience. You just have to learn from it and move on. And I know, Scott, you were at Anarchapulco this year. I should just mention we still have pre-sale tickets available for Anarchapulco at a discounted price. Anarchapulco next year is February 14th to 17th, and price will be going up on what is it, May now? June 1st, if there's even still tickets available. That's how fast they're selling. Scott, you came over here for Anarchapulco. Is there any last things you wanted to mention that we haven't talked about? And if not, maybe you can just mention your experience in Anarchapulco.
To be honest with you, Anarchapulco was amazing. Let me just turn that off, sorry. I thought I had to turn it off. Anarchapulco was amazing for me, and I'm not just saying that. Yeah, and a lot of what I talk about, I actually picked up from talking to various people at Acapulco, you know, and hearing different perspectives. I didn't agree with all of them, you know, but you take it all on board, and it's just a really, and the thing I loved was that, again, the community and being around like-minded people, and definitely it's a learning experience. And I kind of thought, you know, anarchism, and it's going to be all really hardcore, but it's full of love. It's full of genuine people who want to make the world a better place. I don't know who that is, and I thought I'd turn it down. It's really about making the world a better place, and if you haven't been and you're in two minds, you have to do it. I'll be there again this year, and I'm a big supporter of it, and it really opened up my eyes to a lot of things, Jeff.
That's great. I'm so glad you enjoyed it, and looking forward to seeing you back here again next year. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, share down below for anyone out there who's interested in this sort of information. We get blocked and shadow banned all over the place, so it really helps to share this information with other people. So please do that. And essentially, that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
There was an idea
to bring together a group of remarkable people
to see if we could become something more.
So when they needed us, we could fight the battles
that they never could.
In time, the state will know what it's like to lose. To feel so desperately that it's right, yet to fail all the same. Dread it. Run from it. Freedom still arrives.
Vacate the state. Engage all the speakers and get this man a microphone.
Fun isn't something that one considers when eradicating tyranny. But this does put a smile on my face.